Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak, Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning, Erev Shabbat, Perashat Pekudei. As Purim, my friends, is 1 week away, as we have the fast of Esther next Thursday. So today, I would like to continue along in our studying of the story of Purim. And we're studying over here from this fantastic book from Rabbi Bernstein, Purim, Removing the Mask. So if you're looking for a book for the holiday, this is one that definitely I recommend. Now, we know that when the Jewish people accepted the Torah, we stood around Har Sinai, and the pasuk says, "Vayityatzvu betahtit hahar." That means that we stood at the foot of the mountain. But the Midrash points out that actually, literally, it means we stood under the mountain. How do you stand under a mountain? Unless there's a tunnel, how do you stand under a mountain? Melamed, says the Gemara, shekafa alehem hakadosh har kigigit. This teaches us that Hashem raised the mountain over their heads, and He said, "If you accept it, great, and if not, boom, I drop it on you right here, right now." And the Jewish people, in a way, were forced to accept the Torah, which is an interesting concept. Why did Hashem have to force us? We know that we willingly said, Na'aseh v'nishma. We said we accept. We're happy to accept. It's the ultimate absolute trust in Hashem. Na'aseh v'nishma. We want to accept it. So why did Hashem have to force us? But whatever it is, Hashem did force us. And we re-accepted the Torah later on. The Gemara says that technically a person may excuse themselves and say, well, listen, I didn't really want to say yes. I was forced to say yes. I have now a pretense. I have an excuse. But the Gemara says, no, you don't. Why? Because we renewed our vows at the story of Purim. When Purim came along, we re-accepted the Torah willingly, happily from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, Purim is known as the day of, also a day of studying of Torah. Purim is known to be a day that we re-accept the Torah. And when we said Na'aseh v'nishma at Har Sinai, there was something missing here. Yes, we accepted the Torah happily, but there was something missing in our acceptance. Because like we said, to say Na'aseh v'nishma means that I have absolute trust in what you are about to offer me, that I don't even need to hear what's inside. Right? That's what Na'aseh v'nishma means. Na'aseh v'nishma means I am ready to accept before I even read the terms and conditions. Now, my father always told me, you never sign without reading first what it says, right? Never. You have to know what you're signing yourself into. What are you signing? Okay? I'm sure you've been to many chuppahs where the rabbi made a joke. By the ketuvah signing, sign your life away. Or, make sure you read it before, don't say we didn't warn you, right? Whenever you're signing something, you got to know what you're signing. But the Jewish people at Har Sinai, we didn't know what we were signing. We signed. Why would we do that? Is there ever a time in your life that you would sign something without even knowing what you're signing? The answer is yes, you would. If you trusted 100% in the person that was offering you that deal. If you trusted them, if your father came to you and said, listen, I need you to sign this, would you say, Dad, what am I signing? Well, some people, yes. Some people, they don't have a healthy relationship. But if you trust your father 100%, then Dad, whatever you want me to sign, I'll sign. So when we said Na'aseh v'nishma is the ultimate trust in God. That's what we're saying. God, I trust you. I don't even need to know what's inside the Torah. If you're giving it to me, I'm here. I accept it. We have so much trust in you. But there was something lacking in that claim, in that proclamation is the word I was looking for. And something changed on Purim that we said it wholeheartedly. That means the Gemara is saying that when we said Na'aseh v'nishma, there was something missing. And therefore Hashem had to force us. But we renewed our vows at Har Sinai. What changed? What changed on Purim? And this connects beautifully to our previous 3 classes that we've given. And again, they're titled The Holiday of Purim. The first class was about... okay, I'm blanking. I forgot what the title was. Give me a second. Let me look it up. Purim, political correctness. The second one was Purim, King Saul and Queen Esther. And the third one was Purim, V'nahafochu. And these are three essays that really were connected to each other. And the idea was that on Purim, the Jewish people's mistake was that they misused their intellect. Intellect is something very great that we have. It's a gift that we have. But sometimes we could misuse even intellect. A person's intellect is supposed to be there to help them get closer to Hashem. The sin of Adam HaRishon was that he tried using his intellect in a way that went against Hashem. Hashem told him not to eat from the tree, and Adam thought he knew better. He thought eating from the tree will give him more success by making the test harder. Again, see that class for a deeper understanding of this concept. Shaul HaMelech thought he could use his brain in a way better than Hashem, even himself. God said to kill the sheep. I think it's better to kill the sheep on the Korban. The Jewish people in Purim thought that they have a better way of actually succeeding in Persia than Hashem. Yes, it's true, we shouldn't eat kosher, but that's not how you're going to get ahead in Persia. We need to become influential. We have to really learn how to play the PR game. We have to understand that there's certain people in government that you have to make happy, right? And unfortunately, even today we're seeing in current events how there's certain people that think that, we have to bend our values to, play nice with the world, to get them on our side. And in Purim, we realized that with all of our PR, with all of our pull, with all the things that we thought are going to get us ahead and successful, they all failed. The only way to really succeed in life is by actually deferring to Hashem, deferring to the Chachamim. And when the Jewish people bowed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when the people suspended their da'at for that of God's, when we put aside our intellect and we say, you know what, Hashem, you know best. It doesn't look like this is going to get anywhere, but if that's what you want, then that's what we'll do. The result is something magnificent. The result is v'nahafochu. The idea of v'nahafochu means that Hashem says, I could take the decree that you think is worst for you and somehow turn that decree into what's actually going to be the best for you. So as an example, the decree of Haman to kill the Jews actually ended up being, at the end of the story, the very decree that saved the Jews. V'nahafochu. So God says, don't worry about PR. Don't worry about, these machshavot, these calculations that you're making. Trust in me. And the Jewish people saw this firsthand, actually. So their na'aseh v'nishma was so much more powerful in Purim. Because their na'aseh v'nishma in Har Sinai was lacking. You know what it's like? It's like a guy who's 19 and 20 and doesn't know anything about marriage, and he says, to a girl, will you marry me? But that's nice, okay. But like they say, young and stupid, right? We don't always know what we're getting ourselves into. But when you have a person that's much older and knows what they're getting into, and they still decide to go into it, that's much more powerful. The Jewish people lived, they experienced what it means to corrupt Na'aseh v'nishma. So when they said it in Purim, they said it wholeheartedly. That's what it means that Purim was a tikkun of Na'aseh v'nishma. And so, we realized on this holiday, my friends, that our intellect get us only so far. What we thought would work didn't. What we thought wouldn't work did. Who we thought was going to hurt us ended up helping us. The guy that we thought was going to help us ended up hurting us. We suck up to Haman. We kissed his feet. And he ended up being the bad guy. And the Mordechai, who we thought was the bad guy, who was just trying to ruin everything, actually ended up being the hero. Right? V'nahafochu. And so, on Purim we realized, not that intellect is bad. That's not the lesson of the story. The lesson of the story is when we think that we can use our intellect to outsmart our Creator. That's when our intellect becomes very dangerous. In every area of life, there are experts. Right? When you have a medical question, you have an expert. You go to a doctor. When you have a legal question, you go to a lawyer, right? You have a tax question, you go to your accountant. Nutrition, right? Nobody thinks that they're smarter, they're their nutritionist. Nobody says, listen, ma'am, or sir, I think that it's okay to eat meat 7 times a week, right? You understand that your nutritionist knows this is her field of expertise. There's only one area of life, and it's unbelievable. There's one area of life that we think that actually we are smarter than the experts, and that is Torah. When it comes to Torah, we have our ego, and this is really the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara, he kind of dangles in front of us the fruit of the Etz Hadat, like Adam Harishon. And he says, come and get a piece. You have wisdom. You know Torah. You know life, right? I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and I said, come, let's learn. Let's learn a little Torah. He's like, Rabbi, why don't I teach you about life? You want to teach me? Let me teach you. Very arrogant, little kid. Doesn't even have life experience. And, that's something that we all fall into the trap of sometimes. Thinking that we know. When it comes to medicine, no one thinks they know. If you didn't go to college for years, imagine you walk into a course that a professor is giving on neuroscience. And, you're a freshman. Which freshman would ever have the guts, the audacity to raise his hand and say, Professor, I beg to differ. I argue. What do you mean you argue? Who are you to argue? What do you know to argue? You're a little nobody. You can't argue. You're a zero. Go to college for 30 years and then argue. And all of a sudden, when it comes to Torah, I don't know, Rabbi. I argue with Abaye. I don't know. I disagree with Rashi. Okay, what are your credentials? What do you know? Did you study? Did you ever learn? You don't know anything about anything and you're coming and you're arguing? It's your first day in Bet Midrash and you already want to argue with a rabbi that spent 50 years finishing Shas 100 times, studying everything about everything, and you want to argue on the Rambam? Who are you? Right? This is the temptation, my friends, of Etz Hadat. It wasn't only Adam that was tempted with the fruit. We are all tempted to use sometimes our da'at. This is what it means, the tree of knowledge. To use our tree of knowledge the wrong way. Adam gave in, he ate from that tree. It appealed to his ego. I know, I'm someone, I'm something. And ever since, we are all tempted by sometimes having to, use our da'at the wrong way. And Purim, the Jewish people, they put aside their da'at. And they made a tikkun for Adam's sin. Adam, by eating, what he did was, by eating, is he said, I know better than God. He really, by eating from the tree of knowledge, he detached himself from Hashem, who is the source of all of life. He detached from God. And now we understand, by the way, what was the punishment of Adam? Once he ate, God punished him, and what did he do to him? He kicked him out of Gan Eden. Why? God said, because now he can no longer eat from the tree of life, from the Etz HaHayim. That now makes a lot of sense. Because by eating, Adam is in essence really saying, by eating from the tree of knowledge, I know better than God. So God didn't really punish him. It was really Adam decided on his own he doesn't want God. I know better than God. So God says, okay, so if you know better than me, then that's it. You cannot have from the Etz HaChaim. It's a consequence. You make your bed, you sleep in it. Later on in history at Har Sinai, my friends, we were given an opportunity to reconnect to the Etz HaChaim. And we did that. The Etz HaChaim, of course, I'm referring to as the Torah. The Torah is referred to as the Etz Chaim hi, Lamachazikim ba. The Torah is a tree of life, my friends. And we have an opportunity by reconnecting to the Etz HaChaim, to the Torah. And on Purim, by detaching from the Etz HaDa'at, by letting go of our intellect on Purim, and saying to ourselves and to Mordechai, and admitting that, what, although I don't see it that way, although it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm happy to defer. By detaching from Etz HaDa'at, by putting down the tree, the fruit of the tree, we were now able to pick up the fruit of life. And we re-accepted the Torah, my friends, on Purim. We said Na'aseh v'nishma on a much higher level. With this, I think we understand the mitzvah of drinking on Purim. Of course, it's many people's favorite mitzvah of the year. Many people are very mahmir to drink, and they started, I'm sure, even from much earlier than Purim, just to get ready for the mitzvah, preparing. But what is the idea of getting drunk to the point ad delo yada ben arur aman lebaruch Mordechai, that I shouldn't know anything? I mean, the whole year it's discouraged to drink. A person has to always be in control. A person has to always be, and all of a sudden on Purim there's a mitzvah to really not understand right and wrong, good guy, bad guy. Now again, there are many opinions. Some say that the mitzvah is to drink till you fall asleep. Some say the mitzvah is to just drink a little bit more than usual. But again, there is a mitzvah to drink. Now again, if you're not of age, you should not be drinking. And no one should get smashed to the point that they're, right, in danger. But there is a mitzvah ad delo yada on a simple level. There is a faculty here of suspending. There is an idea here of suspending our da'at. Suspending our da'at, because our salvation on Purim came because we suspended our da'at. We thought Mordechai is wrong. And we had to put that aside and say, forget what we think. Forget what we think. We got into this mess because of what we think. This whole mess started because we thought that the best way to succeed in Persia is by, rubbing shoulders with. And look how far our thought got us. So again, the teshuvah came by suspending thought, deferring to the Gedolim, to the Mordechai. And now we understand that we celebrate every year by doing the same thing on the anniversary, by suspending thought, by drinking ad delo yada. And we connect, by drinking, we disconnect from the etz hadat. That's a beautiful idea, my friends. If that's the case, we cannot take it one step further. And he explains as follows. The Arizal writes something very fascinating. The Arizal says that the word Yom Kippur, the holiday Yom Kippur, ki, we know ke means like. Kippur, the Arizal writes, means it's like Purim. That the holiday of Yom Kippur is like Purim. Now, if you ask me as a Jew, what two holidays are on polar opposites, I would say, for sure, Yom Kippur and Yom Purim are the two furthest days of the year from each other. You cannot get further apart. Yom Kippur is all about fasting. It's a very serious day. Yom Purim is a day of drinking, maybe a little bit frivolousness, I don't know. But the Arizal says no, says the Arizal. You should know that Yom Kippur is actually very similar to Purim. And not only very similar, but it's almost as holy as Purim. That means, my friends, that in a week we have the holiest day of the year coming up according to the Arizal. What in the world is the connection between these two holidays? Yom Kippur, we know, is referred to as a Shabbat Shabbaton. You familiar with this? It's written in the Torah a few times. We refer to it like as such in the Amidah. Shabbat Shabbaton. What does that mean? Shabbat Shabbaton. It means it's a super Shabbat. It's the Shabbat of Shabbats. Shabbat, you can't do any work. Yom Kippur is Shabbat on steroids, right? It's the highest, it's a great Shabbat. Okay, what does that mean, it's a great Shabbat? Shabbat, what is Shabbat? Shabbat's coming up tonight, my friends. What is Shabbat? We speak about this often. It's important to understand Shabbat. Shabbat is a day of rest, but it's not just a day to go to sleep for 25 hours. If I sit down and I do nothing, and I just abstain, I miss the point of Shabbat. Why do we rest on Shabbat? Shabbat is a day that we disengage from the world. Shabbat is a day that we say, you know what? Maybe we're getting sidetracked. Maybe I'm focusing too much on the wrong things. Too much on real estate, too much on money, too much on work, too much on the Yankees or whatever, right? Silly. Life is not about sports. Too much sports. Let's come back to my family. Let's come back to my shul. Let's come back to my house. Let's come back to my values. Shabbat is a day to disconnect, to disengage, so that way we can refocus, so that we recharge, so that we take stock on what's actually important. That's a very important point, my friends. The point of abstaining from work on Shabbat is not just so that we could relax. I could relax on a Sunday. The goal is not to relax. The goal is to refocus. That's not an easy thing. That means that I could keep Shabbat and still miss the whole point. A person could technically keep the laws, but their head is on their properties. You can walk around on Shabbat through the city, wherever you live, and notice all the houses that are for sale. And you can just talk to your wife all day long about, what do you think? Should we buy that house? Should we buy this house? Should we invest in here? You come to shul and it's hard because, we see our friends a lot of times only once a week. But we're missing the whole point when we're spending our Shabbat talking about business. When we're spending the holiest day of the week that's meant to disconnect from business, talking about business. What do you think? Let's invest here, let's invest there. We missed the whole point. As we're in shul, and the goal of the whole thing is to be here, focusing on the spirituality. And we're doing the exact opposite. So it's important to remember this point, that Shabbat is about recharging. Well, if that's what Shabbat is, Yom Kippur, my friends, is that times 10. So on Yom Kippur, we don't only disconnect from business. On Yom Kippur, we also disconnect from food. The idea is the same. Is that throughout the week, throughout the year, we could also eat in an inappropriate way. The same way on Shabbat, the goal of Shabbat is to stop, disconnect from work, so that I can put work in context. Now, when the week starts again, I go back to work, but with a higher set of understanding. The same is with food. Sometimes we can forget that food is all it should be a means to an end. Food should not be a hobby. It should not be an activity. Food is something that we need. And of course, there's laws of kosher and things like that. But even besides for that, we should remember what role food has in the world. And on Yom Kippur, we suspend food. We suspend drinking. This gives us even more clarity. And the goal is that now when I go back after Yom Kippur to food, I should be able not to continue eating like I used to eat like an animal. The goal after Yom Kippur is to understand what food is supposed to mean. So on Yom Kippur, I'm supposed to gain a higher consciousness of what place food has in my life. By not eating, I can gain clarity on food. So that when I go back to food, I can live the next year higher. Okay? That is what Yom Kippur is all about. So Shabbat does that with work. Yom Kippur, my friends, does that with food. We disengage from food to attain a maximum level of clarity. By the way, if we could just connect it to our parasha just slightly. Our parasha tells us, Shemot, if you could open up, Shemot Lametet Mem Gimel. And I'll open up as well. I wrote this down in my notes as I was preparing for this class. And as I was reading this from Rabbi Bernstein, it reminded me of something that connects to our parasha. The parasha says that after they build the Mishkan, Vayar Moshe et kol ha-melacha, Moshe sees all the work, Ve'yineh asu ota, ka'asher tzivah Hashem ken asu. They did it beautifully. Vayvarech otam Moshe. And Moshe blessed them. What do you bless them? Rashi writes, Yehi ratzon, shetishre shechina b'maaseh yedechem. May it be Hashem's will that the Shekhinah should rest amongst your b'maaseh yedechem, in your hands, in the work of your hands. V'hinoam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu, u'maaseh yadenu konena aleinu, u'maaseh yadenu konena. You ever heard of that line? Okay, it's a pasuk from Tehillim. And Moshe wrote that psalm. He wrote 10 of them, I believe. That's one of them. That Mizmor, Tehillim, we think David HaMelech wrote every song. No. David didn't write every psalm. He composed all of them, meaning he compiled them. And he wrote many. But many are Moshe, many of them are Adam. The authors are many times in the beginning of the Mizmor. Lamnatayah libnei Korah. Even Korah's sons, they have a few songs, right? Anyways, Tefillah le Moshe. Moshe said this prayer, and he blessed the Jewish people. Right? What was the blessing? Tishre Shekhinah b'maaseh yedechem. The Shekhinah should rest in your hands. And what he's telling them is something very deep. He's telling the Jewish people, now that you're here building the Mishkan, you're on a higher state of connection to Hashem. Right? But we make a mistake sometimes when we leave the Mishkan, when we leave Shul. We go back to mundane activities. And Moshe blessed them. Don't forget about Hashem wherever you go. Don't think that holiness is only something to be achieved in Shul. And then when you go to work, you go and you could lie, and you go to work and you could become again, no. The goal is come to Shul, find God, and then take Him with you to work. And that's what He blessed them. I bless you, shetishre shechina b'maaseh yedichem. That you should be able to rest Hashem's Shekhinah, not in Ma'aseh Yedichem here, not on what you're doing here in the building of the Mishkan. No! You should be able to rest the Shekhinah there, wherever you're going today, b'Ma'aseh Yedichem, the rest of your day-to-day activities. But either way, Purim becomes now very clear what the Arizal means. When the Arizal says Yom Kippur, it's like Yom Kippur, like Purim. The same way on Shabbat we rest, and the same way on Yom Kippur we rest from eating. On Purim, my friends, we also rest. But from what? In one word, what do we rest from on Yom Kippur, on Yom Purim? If on Yom Kippur we don't eat, on Yom Purim we rest from thought. We put aside our intellect. And I know again it sounds weird, but that is what Yom Kippurim is about. We don't think. We drink till we cannot think. We do a full tikkun. Fe'etz hada'at. Not because thinking is bad. Again, on Yom Kippur, we rest from eating. Is eating bad? Eating's not bad. But the goal is to put aside eating for one day so that we can understand what role eating has in life. On Yom Purim, we put aside thought for one day. So that when we come back after Purim is over, we can make sure to use our intellect properly. That's a very, very, very special thing. And then we come to, my friends, the last point. And the last point is one final mitzvah on the day of Purim, and that is the mitzvah of matanot la'evyonim. And I know we all prepare for Purim with the Megillah reading. You know, you think about it, people will spend $500 maybe to hire a private reader to come to their house. People spend a lot of money on the Mishteh. People spend a lot of money on Mishloach Manot. The Rambam writes, Mutav le'adam leharbot. It's actually preferable for a person to spend more on gifts for the poor than even on his own seudah or even Mishloach Manot. That means that if you have a bottle of wine for your Mishteh, it's a $12 bottle of wine. You could buy now a $50 bottle to enhance your seudah. Or you could spend that $50 to give it to another poor person that you already gave. You already did the mitzvah of giving to the poor. But you can now give more. The Rambam says better to give more. Better to give more on the matanot le'evyonim. Now, of course, there's always a mitzvah to give tzedakah. But there's a special mitzvah on Purim to give tzedakah. And on a simple level, the goal of tzedakah is so that we can give the poor so that he can have a mishteh. Right? We want to give him money. The goal is not to give tzedakah. The goal is really to give a poor person a meal. The best way to give matanot le'evyonim actually is to go to a poor guy that has nothing to eat and give him actually a plate of food so that he can fulfill the mishteh. It has to be a Jew, of course, because only Jews are obligated in the mishteh. But the mitzvah really is to give someone food. Now, if you don't want to give them food, you want to give them money that he could go buy food with, that's also okay. What he decides to do with the money is up to him. That's fine. So on a simple level, we're giving tzedakah so that they could fulfill the mishteh. Rabbi Bernstein of Year is on fire, my friends. Look at this, and we'll end with this. And he says something that's just gorgeous. Why did Adam eat from Etz Hadat? The pasuk's very clear. The Nachash came and enticed him. The Nachash said one line to him and Chava, and he said to her, he said that by eating, Yihitem ke'elokim yode'eh tov vara. You will now be like God. Don't you want to be like God? It's enticing, right? You want to be like God. And this is what really sold the fruit, the forbidden fruit. The Yetzer Hara said, you can be like Hashem. Don't you want to have powers? Now, it's important to remember being like Hashem is actually not a bad thing. As I'm saying it, like I'm sure you're thinking of it maybe. Isn't there a mitzvah to be like Hashem? To want to be like Hashem? Doesn't it say, Ubo tidbakun? Doesn't it say that we should emulate God? The pasuk says, Ze eli ve'anvehu, this is my God and I will glorify him. Our rabbis say, ve'anvehu means ani vahu. I should be like him. There's a mitzvah to be like God. Mahu rahum afata rahum, mahu hanun afata hanun. God is merciful, we should be merciful. God is kind, we should be kind. God is forgiving, we should be forgiving. There's a mitzvah to be like Hashem. So being like Hashem per se is not a bad thing. The problem is, again, when we try to outsmart Hashem, when we try to chart our own path to Etz Hadat, that is where we go wrong. So the temptation to want to be like Hashem wasn't wrong. That's actually a good thing. We all have a soul. We all have a neshama. The neshama comes from Him. The neshama naturally wants to be like God. You know, there's many urges that you have that are godly. We all have an urge to give. That's why many people that are lonely, that don't have families, they get a dog. Why do people get dogs for? Why do they do that? It's because we have a feeling, a natural feeling to want to give. So we can't give children, we can't give a spouse, so we give it to a dog, right? We give. What is that feeling, that want to give? That comes from our tzelem Elokim. We created in the image of God. So we all want to be like God. But the Nachash used that want the wrong way. He tempted Adam, don't you want to be like God? And you could not only be like God, but be better than God. And so on Purim, look at this, my friends. By doing teshuvah for Etz Hadat, we actually give expression to our desire to be like Hashem, but in a healthy way. If Adam ate and he wanted to be like God in a bad way, then teshuvah means trying to be like God in a good way. And look at these words of the Rambam. What's a good way to be like God? A good way to be like Hashem is by giving tzedakah. Look at the words of the Rambam on this halacha of matanot le'evyonim. He says you should give more to the poor than even you spend on your own meal. She'en sham simcha gdola, because there's no greater joy, my friends, in life. You want happiness? And this is, by the way, this is its own speech. But if you want happiness in life, happiness doesn't come by receiving. Happiness comes by giving. I'll give you an example. It's your birthday, and you're having a bad birthday. No one texted you happy birthday. It's already 10 a.m. and no one texted you, right? You're all upset. Why is no one wishing me happy birthday? Ugh, you know what's going to make my birthday so special today? If I get a lot of gifts. And we think that by receiving, we'll be happy. And actually, it's the exact opposite. You want happiness on your birthday? Go out and do something for somebody else. Go out and visit sick people in the hospital. Go and deliver stuff to the poor. Go and give a hand to old people that are maybe unable to do things themselves. You want simcha, go and do. Don't receive. There is no greater simcha, writes the Rambam, than to make others simcha. You want happiness? Give happiness. And now look at the line over here. Because by making other people happy, look at the line of the Rambam, Domeh lashchina. You are like God. The Rambam is very clear. The goal of Purim is to become like God. Adam became like God, but in a wrong way. He ate from the tree to be like God. But he took that good, it's a good energy, it's a good thought, but he just misused it. So on Purim, the Rambam is giving us direction. How do we use our desire to be like Hashem? We use it by helping. We use it by giving tzedakah. And now we are able, now we can be like God. And so, this is a conclusion to our 3 prior classes of, again, the original sin of Adam began by corrupting his da'at, by eating from etz da'at. By doing this, he actually disconnected himself from the source of life, from the etz ha'chaim, from the tree of life. And on Purim, the Jewish people learned their mistake, and they put aside their da'at. And they re-accepted the Torah, which is an Etz Chaim. And they were able to then once again eat from the tree of life by disconnecting from the tree of knowledge. And by doing so, we get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my friends. On this beautiful holiday of Purim, again, we should all be responsible. We should all be responsible in our drinking, in our activities. But we also remember that the goal of the day, just like Yom Kippur, is to suspend eating. On Yom Purim, we suspend for one day our da'at. Hopefully, that'll give us a higher way of using our da'at throughout the rest of the year. Okay, my friends, we'll stop over here. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom, and hopefully we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.